Memorial Day. A day we remember the men and women of the United States Armed Forces who paid the ultimate price in service of our country. Because of their sacrifice, we as a nation are free to exercise our inalienable rights. Throughout America's remarkable history, many have honored this sacred day. General Norman Schwarzkopf.
It doesn't take a hero to order men into battle. It takes a hero to be one of those men who goes into battle.
President Barack Obama.
They are the legacies of an unbroken chain of proud men and women who served their country with honor, who waged war so that we might know peace, who braved hardship so that we might know opportunity, who paid the ultimate price so that we might know freedom.
President Woodrow Wilson.
There is no immortality safer than theirs. We come not for their sakes, but for our own, in order that we may drink at the same springs of inspiration from which they themselves drank.
General Colin Powell.
Our troops are the foundation of America. Like Washington, Jefferson, and all of our founding fathers, Americans of every generation are ready to fight and die for those inalienable rights.
General George S. Patton.
It is foolish and wrong to mourn the men who died. Rather, we should thank God that such men lived.
President Ronald Reagan.
We see these soldiers in our minds as old and wise. We see them like our founding fathers, old and gray-haired. But most of them were boys when they died. And they gave up two lives. The one that they were living and the one they would have lived.
From the Tet Offensive to Tehran, Perryville to Pearl Harbor, D-Day to Desert Storm, their sacrifices paved the way for the spirit and strength of our great nation to flourish. Today, we reflect. Today, we remember. Today, we say, thank you.
I'm speechless listening to that. I really am. I got tears in my eyes.
Yeah, excerpts from so many.
That was powerful.
Very, very much so.
Yeah.
Where did you find that?
Can't tell you my source.
I love that.
But on the line right now on my Zoom is my American hero, besides my dad, and it's my daughter, Hayley Nine.
Good morning.
Good morning, Hayley.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, Dad?
I'm all right. Listening to that, I get really emotional.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. Because today's a day that we remember those that gave the ultimate sacrifice for all of us to be here.
You're absolutely right.
I want to talk a little bit about your career. A little bit. And I was telling Bonnie earlier that at the age of 6 years old, Bonnie, she knew her destiny. Hayley, take me back to that day you sat on my dad's lap when he used to tell you the war stories.
So I remember sitting with Grandpa Joe, and he retired as a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army after 46 years of honorable service. And while I was only about 6 years old, really too young to comprehend the chaos of war and the why behind it, he would tell me some stories in a way that I could understand. And it really just lit a fire in me to want to serve in the same way that he did. And I knew ever since I was 6 years old that the United States Army is the path that I wanted to go down, just like him.
Wow. 6 years old, folks. Bonnie, 6 years old.
It was instilled in you so early, right, Hayley? And
It was, yeah. And it really just, the structure that my dad grew up living with kind of transferred over to me and growing up under my dad's, leadership and guidance as a father. And it was a no-brainer. And it's funny because, everybody's on TikTok these days, and I scroll, and, a big thing that has been going on TikTok is these kindergarten graduations. And it's the kindergartners, which is about 6 years old, saying what they want to be when they get older. And, one of them said they want to be a gas station clerk, and the other one wants to work at Walmart, and really cute, adorable responses. But hearing those responses reminded me at how, I guess, mature my mind was at that age to grasp and understand wanting to do something bigger than who I was.
do you think that, like, your grandfather knew that too? Like, he had a powerful feeling that...
Oh, absolutely. It was his dream always for one of the grandkids to follow in his footsteps. And while we are all successful in our own ways, I was the one, I think, destined to do the military route. My oldest brother is very successful in the financial world. I have a twin brother who's extremely successful in the art and photography world in Miami. And I have an older sister who's very successful in the medical field. So I think that this was just the path that was destined to me, not only by, in the footsteps of my grandfather, but by God. And I feel my calling is where I am now and where I was at 17 years old when I raised my right hand and took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States. And I don't regret it 1 second.
Hayley, I remember an interview you did when Channel 5 came to the house, mm-hmm. and Tim Malloy was working for Channel 5, and he asked you a question, and you were so poised at the way you answered that question. And the question was, are you afraid of dying for your country? And your answer was just so poised. Do you remember that answer?
I can't say that I do, but I know what I would say now if you asked me that.
Probably the same thing.
I'd be afraid that I never lived for something.
Yeah.
And for me, living to protect others is enough for me to be at peace.
Yeah, that it blew me away because, I remember your answer, and you'd said to Tim, if I have to die for my country, then I'm good with that. Those were your exact words.
Yeah.
And this was at 17.
Yeah.
She said those words.
Yeah. That's amazing. Thank you for your service and for our freedom, by the way, Hayley. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. And, like I said, I'm super honored. And, there's 3 days a year that kind of recognize military service. And we have Armed Forces Day, which kind of recognizes those that are currently serving. We have Veterans Day that recognizes those that have served. And we have Memorial Day to remember those who never made it out of the uniform.
Yeah.
And by saying never made it out of the uniform, I don't just mean killed in action at war. There's a lot of people that leave the battle and they still, in their mind, are there and they return home. And in their mind, they never truly got out of the uniform. And we have people every day. The statistic is 22 a day that lose the battle with that invisible war in their mind. And I think those people as well should be honored today because they gave just as much as a sacrifice as those that died that day on battle because they continue to live it in that chaos with no hope for silence. They should be remembered as well.
Now, Hayley has done 2 tours when she was in the military.
How old were you when you went on your first tour?
I was 20. I turned 21.
And she wanted to go.
Yeah.
Without hesitation.
Yeah.
She threw her hand up and boom, done.
That's bravery.
Well,
that's bravery.
Yeah, my grandfather was in World War II, Battle of the Bulge. He has a few medals for valor, and I knew that I wanted an opportunity to serve in the greatest way possible. And so when that opportunity came up during the global war on terrorism, post 9/11, and this was in 2012. I just didn't hesitate, and I knew what I had to do, and I was grateful enough to be under great leadership and come home safe that tour. So,
and I'll never forget, because that was, you left the morning after your brother got married.
Well, no, that
or was that in the
second
second? Was that was the second tour? That was the Kuwait tour.
That was the second tour.
Yeah, that was the
in
second tour.
2016. Yep,
she went from bridesmaid
that day.
She went from bridesmaid dress to Army soldier uniform.
Wow.
Yeah,
all within 12 hours.
Yeah.
Man, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that day. I'll never forget that day. I was telling Bonnie that when you left to go to on your first tour, they had to peel me off the glass. Literally at the airport.
No doubt.
And they had to stop little Gavin from running down the gangway from stopping the plane.
So that was tough. I hadn't really been away from home, and the first time I left, for a long period of time was when I went to boot camp. And, I was away from home many years ago when I went to a military school, but, you intermittently see your parents and et cetera. And that was a choice also. I thought that was a great stepping stone to joining the military, is that structure I was looking for. But, I was just so grateful for the support that I had from my family, because unfortunately you have veterans that came back from, Vietnam and in World War I, World War II, they didn't have the support that we have now for veterans. And a lot of them are really upset about it, rightfully so. And we try to do what we can now to honor them and make up for lost time. But nothing can truly make up for the way that we treated our older veterans, who really gave and paved the way for me to even have been able to serve. And I see them every day that I go to the VA hospital, and I try to look at them in the eye and smile and shake their hand and, indulge a little bit into their story and just make sure that they feel seen.
Yeah, they're not recognized enough, in my humble opinion. They really aren't. They're kind of forgotten about.
Yeah, it's like you're right, because like every day, like when Memorial Day rolls around or it's Veterans Day, sometimes it seems like that's like the only time I will see an older soldier. Like they will feature an older soldier, maybe like on a newscast.
Yeah.
I think they should be visited and be appreciated like much more often.
Yeah, definitely.
I
agree.
I think we're doing a good job at pushing that. We have a lot of strong veterans in our political trail. Brian Mass is one of them, and he does a really excellent job at keeping their memory alive. And there's representatives from all over. Pat Ryan, Mike Waltz. Like there's Congressman Waltz, perfect example. Like they're just all really great people that no matter what their views are, they remember that they were, soldier first is what we say, or Marine first, sailor first, and they remember that, and they remember to take time to use their platform to bring and honor those lives that were lost and those that continue to lose that battle with those invisible wounds. So,
and what? Also, Hayley and Evan, like. In the whole scheme of things, our nation is not very old.
No.
And I think I've been doing some thinking, and I have like a fear that there is a breakdown of communicating, with the kids and future generations, just how important veterans are and fighting for our freedom really is.
Yeah.
It's like, let's keep up that communication.
Yeah, and in like 1985, President Ronald Reagan made a speech, and he touches on that, and he says that peace fails when we forget what we stand for, and it fails when we forget that our republic is based on firm principles that have real meaning, that with them we are the last best hope of man on earth. Without them, we're little more than the crust of a continent. You know, and that speech really touches me, and it's really long, and the VA published it on their website a while back, and I miss the speeches that they gave back in the day, and I wasn't alive in the 80s. You know, I was born in 1991. You know, but it's really the true meaning of America was in our hearts. We bled for it. You know, and I just think that we kind of have lost sight of it. And
you are so spot on. So spot on with that.
Mm-hmm. Well, now today, fast forward to today, and she is a law enforcement officer with the city of West Palm Beach. It's no hiding that. I talk about her all the time on the radio. Very, very proud. Papa, how many years you been with the city of West Palm now?
I am in my 8th year right now.
She's in her 8th year.
Excellent.
She's worn many hats with the city of West Palm. She's currently on and I could say it, she's currently on the bomb squad, which that sets off a nerve right there with me. But you know what? She's smart, and she knows not to get blown up.
Wow.
But Hayley, I know you're on duty. I'm gonna let you go. This way you can go back 10-8 and go do your stuff and 56 somebody for breakfast or whatever.
Yeah, and I just want to say this, that there's a quote, and it says that they say a warrior dies twice, once on the battlefield and once the warrior is forgotten. And I just ask that everybody listening today just never forgets his warriors. So their sacrifice is not in vain.
Wow. That's powerful. Whew.
Yeah.
This is the first time I ever got to interview my daughter, too. So it's pretty cool, I will say, definitely. Hayley, I love you, sweetheart.
I love you too, Dad. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.